Do you have a garden? Do you have an urban garden? And do you want to go wild? Well, the man who tells us how to do it is right here with me, and that is Gerry Maguire Thompson. Gerry, good to see you again. I did meet you, must be about a year and a half ago, in your beautiful garden, which is rewilded, if that's a word, urban garden. And now you've written a book. Rewilding an Urban Garden. I'm going to show this to the camera. It's beautifully illustrated and designed. Tell me about the book, but maybe just before you tell me about the book, for the very few, I guess, who haven't heard of the term rewilding, because it's quite a fashionable term now, tell me, what is it? What is rewilding?
Rewilding is simply stepping back a bit and letting nature take its course in some part of your garden and just letting things happen and not cutting it down or making bare earth or planting things deliberately.
Right, but it's not just sitting back and letting things happen. Is that right? There is some thought, there is some strategy behind it.
There can be, yeah, some mild interventions, because you might introduce some native shrubs if they're not there already. You might replace some non-native things with native shrubs. You might control shrubs a bit, as you did in my garden, and cut the tops down a bit so that it doesn't get too high.
And so you got into rewilding, and apart from having a beautiful garden, what did it give you? And indeed, the writing of the book, which is a sort of a diary, and it's your own personal rewilding story, what did it give you, and what kind of inspiration can people who watch us now get from perhaps thinking about rewilding their own gardens?
Yeah, I think I got a great deal from it. I was quite ill when I started writing the book with COVID, and looking out the window, wasn't able to do much except be in bed, really look out the window. But there was so much going on, it was very uplifting. So I started the journal, then I had the idea of making the book, and I found that being very absorbed in things in the garden was great for the spirit, it was good for the emotions, and it was kind of like connecting, a very significant connecting into nature and seeing how connected nature is and seeing how complex and amazing the details of how nature works is something I go into quite detail in some of the things in the book, like why is it that birds sing mostly in aggression, yet we hear it as beautiful? What's the explanation for that? There is a scientific explanation. And what are the different... There are hundreds of different calls that a sparrow makes. I didn't know that, but when you see them in the nest box with a camera, you see that the sparrows have different voices for talking to each other, and they even talk to their eggs with another type of voice. So that the little birds, before they hatch, are learning from what is kind of spoken to them, which is amazing. It's all amazing and very, very connected together, interconnected.
Right. And would you be more exposed to this kind of phenomena in a garden that is wilder than in a garden that's prim and proper?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. I think because when nature is happening naturally, it's more complex and more profound, and it's under its own rhythm. The birds poo in your garden, drop seeds, those go into plants, insects come to those plants, things come to eat those insects, things stay in your garden the whole year. You know, sparrows live there all the time, they get everything they need there. So there's going to be a lot more nature exposure from that.
Okay.
I mean, I think people can do hybridized gardens where you have a bit of both. It isn't an all or nothing thing.
So, if people get some inspiration, or indeed if people want to find out about your own personal story, which I know is fascinating, and there's so much happening in this garden, which is not that huge, but a lot is happening there, how can people get hold of Rewilding an Urban Garden? Well,
it is for sale on Amazon as a hardback like this, or as a softback, and it's in city books, for instance in Brighton, it's in some bookshops. Some people can contact me as author, and I can do signed copies at gerrymaguirethompson.com. So there are different ways of getting it, and I think it makes a very nice book. It's so nicely illustrated and designed,
really is.
As you said. I think it would make a lovely gift for someone you know who's interested in nature or gardens.
Absolutely.
Or for yourself.
Absolutely. Gerry, thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.